For those who don't know me, I'm a veteran. I'm a small business owner.
Politics.
I'm a two-term councillor for
Canadian federal
former
election.
two-term councillor for the
Vernon, Lake Country, Monashee.
I'm also a father
This is
of a
the
husband
conservative
and a
candidate.
father.
It's an
And for anybody who wants to
all-candidate
know more about me,
debate.
Please Google Scott Anderson Vernon and you will get your fill, I promise. I found that out filling out my application. What you're going to hear, from my liberal colleague is all about sovereignty and how the United States is attacking us and how our economy will save us. I think we should all be concerned about tariffs and about the sovereignty issue. The thing is we are already being saved by the Americans themselves. There's tremendous pressure right now on the American government to calm its jets, cool its jets. We haven't heard anything about the 51st, and the latest tariff tranche didn't affect us, fortunately. So ironically, the Americans themselves are saving us. At this point,
We love our
the Conservative Party
Americans.
has made it quite clear that sovereignty is not negotiable. That Canada is not
This guy
negotiable.
is a
We're
single
not being 50%
issue
And
candidate.
personally speaking, as
His
a
number
politician,
one and
I
only
think
value is
personally
gun
defend this country against any
freedom.
intervention on sovereignty. The truth is that nobody can do anything, nobody can control what the Americans do. The only thing we can control is what we do and how we guard ourselves from it. What we need to focus on is our economy, our housing problems, our problems, not on the United States. That is a red herring. The Conservatives have a full platform on the things that actually matter. Lowering and eliminating taxation in the case of the gas tax and several other taxes that we're taking down. Taking down red tape, lowering immigration to sustainable levels so that we don't have a housing problem that is partly attributable to that. And stopping crime, stopping drugs, and supercharging our economy. And we can do all of those things, and we do know how to do those things. We have more land, more water, more natural resources than most other countries in the world, and we frankly should be one of the richest countries in the world. And yet, the GDP growth that we have is 0.5%, the lowest in the G7. We have higher crime rates, more drug use, more unsustainable immigration, less and less hope for future generations.
False.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to people.
Appears there's
Okay, I'll start again. Thank you for this opportunity to meet you, to speak with you. I'm going to first address the small elephant in the room. Most of you have never seen me before. I live in the upper part of this riding. This new riding I had to cross 2 mountain ranges and a ferry over a part of the Columbia River to get here, and it's very much worth the drive. I'm learning about Vernon, I'm learning about Coldstream, I'm learning about the Monashee, I'm learning how proud you are of your communities and of what you can do, what you can build, like this Performing Arts Center, which is amazing. As a long-time
She's an
musician,
NDP candidate,
I really appreciate it. I love it.
somewhat left-leaning. Quite
We all
left-leaning.
want the same things in life.
The guy on the right is right-leaning.
Families. We want to be able to educate our children. We want them to be able to play sports. We want to hold on to good-paying jobs. We want to know that our children are being taken care of while we are working those jobs. And not all women who work are doing so just because they have to make ends meet. Women want careers. Many women want careers. Many women also want to stay home and raise the children, and that's great for them. But working women, working families need childcare. The federal NDP pushed to get a $10 a day child care program all throughout Canada, and that's no small feat. We all want safe, prosperous communities where our firefighters, our policemen, our crossing guards are acknowledged and paid for the work they do, and all of the parties who pay them participate in the negotiation process of setting their wages, unlike what the Liberal government passed in their last term of doubling the cost of the RCMP and imposing that contract on local governments, on municipalities who were never invited to the negotiating table. The federal NDP does not believe in operating like that. If we are going to do something for you,
Thank
we
you.
have to do it with you.
Thank you. Ms. Fisher, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. It's so nice to see so many people here tonight. My name is Blair Fisher. I live in Lumbee. I work in Vernon. I do research in Lake Country, and I'm from the Cookies. So I was very excited with the way that this new riding, how the boundaries have aligned really with essentially my entire life. It's quite astounding to me. So having been from this area, in this area for a very long time, I see the damage that is happening with increased drought, increased erratic weather, and of course, what we now call fire season. None of these things are small. All of us worry every summer as it approaches what's going to happen to us this summer. And it has an impact on us
Green
psychologically,
party.
but it also has an impact on our economy and on our health. So for me, any talk of economics or of health has to also include this idea that, especially here in Vernon, Lake Country, and Monashee, we are very hard hit with the effects of a changing climate, and that needs to be brought to attention at a federal level. We also are really struggling with cost of living in this area. It's really hard to afford housing. It's really hard to afford groceries. And what we see with the idea of tax breaks to help us support housing, I think most of us who struggle to afford daily life these days really see that that will only benefit people who already are able to afford housing. So these things really need to be addressed. My heart is in this community, and I think it's time that we send someone for Vernon, Lake Country, Monashee, who's not going just to be part of a larger group, but is going to represent you. That's what I hope to do. We should have more federal reserve for climate mitigation, climate adaptation, and for community resilience. It's not because of our communities that we are having to struggle with drought, erratic weather patterns, and wildfire. It's because of large corporations, oil, and greed. And it's time that we address that. We should not be paying that cost. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Ms. Warren-Sears, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. It's great to be here. It's great to see so many friends and folks from around the riding. I'm running for your member of parliament because I care very deeply about Canadian sovereignty. And I care very deeply about the communities here. And I want to protect our communities, and I want to provide for them.
Liberal candidate.
To local problems. I have spent 20 years of my career working for the Okanagan
She's my lady.
Board, which is bringing together communities and finding their shared problems and looking for shared solutions. It's really a collaborative process. It's listening to what the needs are from the community, taking those questions and the needs and working with senior governments, the provincial government, the federal government to get funding to help communities with those solutions, and also to advocate to the federal and provincial government when they need to, tune up their act. So my approach is really nonpartisan. It's across working with people from all different political stripes and working with people from all different parties in government. And I want to bring that approach with me as your member of parliament. If I'm elected, I'm not just going to talk about your concerns, I'm going to bring your concerns to Ottawa, and I will fight to make sure that your voices are heard and that your needs are met. Regardless of whether or not you vote for me, I believe a representative needs to represent the entire community. I'm running because I believe that our region deserves a representative who listens, acts, and delivers. And that's my promise to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Warwick-Sears. In this next section, questions have been developed by the Chamber in consultation with our members through a survey and will be presented to each candidate. These questions were not provided as time allowed, which can be asked to one or all candidates. Each candidate will have the opportunity to be the first to respond to a question. Each candidate that is selected to answer a question will be given 2 minutes to answer. We will then move to the person to the immediate left of the first person to answer the questions. If they wish, candidates have the opportunity for up to 2 rebuttals, which they can signal with the cards placed in front of them. At the conclusion of the evening, each candidate will be provided 2 minutes for closing comment. The order will be in reverse of the introductory statements. The forum will end at 8 p.m. or sooner, depending on the questions. As the moderator, I will not tolerate any ill-mannered comments directed at the candidates, either from the public or from each other. This is a professional forum, and the intention is that we treat each other with respect, regardless of differing views. Let's begin with our first question. As a reminder, you each have 2 minutes. The economy was the #1 concern of our members, so we'll start there. And we'll start with Ms. May. How do you plan to grow Canada's economy while ensuring affordability for businesses and families in smaller urban and rural communities like Greater Vernon?
I've spent the better part of the last 10 years as a municipal councillor going to Ottawa with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and working specifically with the federal government, both the civil service and elected officials, to talk about exactly these programs, this problem, this challenge, and to figure out ways to get equity to smaller, rural, far-flung communities. The biggest thing that the NDP proposes to do for the economy, for families at this point, is to take the monies collected in the countervailing tariffs and apply them first to replacing lost income from lost jobs, expanding the EI program so that people who have their hours cut can still access some funds to help support their families. Once the individual workers get what they need, we will look at supporting small businesses, medium-sized businesses, the big players, whom we have already subsidized to the tune of billions of dollars. They have the resources to weather the storm themselves. We want to focus on supporting families, workers, communities, and we will use all the tools that we can find, and we will work with whatever party forms government. We have proven that we are capable of doing that we are willing to do that, and that we bring good ideas to the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. May. Ms. Fisher.
So the Green Party has proposed some pretty significant ideas for what we could do to improve our economy. One of them being that the federal government could be purchasing the steel and the things that are being tariffed right now, that we should be purchasing what isn't being purchased by what were our American partners in order to create a reserve, much like we do with maple syrup in Quebec, so that nobody has to lose their jobs. We can still support our own Canadian workers. And then with that reserve of material, we could hold it and sell it when there aren't any tariffs or when the money is, when the cost is high again, or we could use those resources to improve Canadian infrastructure. So another one of our ideas is that in order to increase accessibility to affordable housing is by increasing our Canadian construction workers to be building houses for Canadians. So what that looks like is it would not be run by corporations. These would be not-for-profit organizations, so that we can actually create housing that we so desperately need and have it be truly affordable. Something else that the Green Party has recommended is that we define what affordability means. So all of those things are Green Party policies that I think would immediately help our economy here in Vernon and Monashee.
Thank you, Ms. Ritchie. Ms. Warwick-Sears.
So the question is how to grow the economy in rural areas and communities in the interior. Correct. So I was just in the Spokane during the debate on Monday evening, and it was interesting going there because I grew up in Caslow when, you know, the mill was going and there was a thriving lumber industry and people were not well off, but people had jobs and the community was really bustling, and a lot of those jobs had left the Kootenays, and you could tell places where the mills have shut down. And it really made me think about this issue of rural economies and how they need help, how they need stimulation. I think one thing that I'm very excited about is the Liberal Party's plan to build 500,000 new homes and build them quickly to help with our housing crisis, our affordability crisis, but to do them with Canadian materials. So if you go to Port Alberni, you can see shiploads full of raw logs going out to Asia. We should be milling those logs here in British Columbia. There are a lot of times where we ship raw materials, critical minerals. We ship those to other countries. We could be doing that processing here. We can rebuild local economies by trades training, and helping have factories and mills back in the community would make a huge difference. Another thing that we could do in rural areas, which would be hugely helpful, is to use the workforce to manage the forest to reduce fire risks around communities. Some of that is already underway, but we need much, much more of it. It's a big issue here in the Greater Vernon area with the Aberdeen Plateau, looking for federal funding in order to reduce fire risk.
Thank you, Ms. Warwick-Sears. Mr. Anderson.
I don't believe the workers need handouts. What they need is jobs. In the rural area, I was also in Spokane for the same reason in a different debate, and they're closing the Forest Service roads. Now, this is a provincial responsibility, but it's the ethos of the Liberal and the government to go ahead and do those kinds of things to keep people out of what they consider natural environment. Canada is swimming in natural resources, and frankly, if we had the Northern Gateway pipeline that I was involved in many years ago, the safest pipeline in the world, we wouldn't have an issue. We would simply turn off the taps right now to the Americans and turn them on to Asia. We're not in a position to do that because we decided we weren't going to do that. We were going to keep everything in the ground. We don't mine, we don't open mines. It takes, 13 to 15 years to open a mine. I heard 18 from somebody else. It takes years, and at the end of it, nobody knows whether they can go ahead after they've spent millions of dollars in the endless bureaucracy that's involved in opening natural resources. They still don't know if they're going to be able to go ahead. And I present Northern Gateway Pipeline as a perfect example of that. Millions of dollars were spent on that endeavor. Plans were ready to go, and then they pulled the plug. The government pulled the plug by saying that you can't ship it once it gets there. This sort of ethos is what needs to go. We need to break through the red tape, and we need to open up our economy. And we in Supercharge, we should be the richest country in the world. Thank you.
Not with you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Fisher, you would like to do a rebuttal?
Thank you. So I'd just like to point out that Mr. Anderson did not explain why it takes so long for a mine to become operational, or why we don't ship oil and gas in the way that he's suggesting. And it's because of the damage that has been done to our environment, which is causing the very real impact that we're experiencing in this community. What we need to do to change this is to run rampant, which completely disregards Indigenous sovereignty, by the way. Shows a really fundamental lack of understanding of how the global economy works. We actually do need a globe in which to live on to have an economy. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson?
I think if we adopt
Yes, it's
basic
politics.
perfection, we will do nothing. We can, and this is, we had a presentation in council one time of how to increase road safety, and the idea was that for every 10 kilometers you reduce, the fewer people get hurt in traffic. By the time you get down to zero, if nobody drives anywhere, nobody gets hurt. That's the way we're treating the economy. We need a balance between economic balance, economic damage, and prosperity. Our party,
Of the rich.
The party proposes a corridor through Canada that's pre-approved for rail, for electricity, for pipelines, so that companies don't face that uncertainty, so that all of the safeguards against reasonable economic damage are in place, and so the company doesn't have the uncertainty and can come in and build a pipeline. That's what we need. We need to look at it realistically and draw a balance between the economic
No worries.
that will always do, and economic prosperity. This is not like an engine without a government that just runs wild. When I say supercharge the economy, I mean put everybody to work. Everybody that wants to work should be able to work. We have a country that certainly has that potentiality, and we should take advantage of it. Thank you.
Our next topic is housing. We will start with Ms. Fisher. Oh, sorry, did you flash your green card and I missed it? Okay, apologies.
I think the gentleman to my right is mistaking economic damage to environmental damage. He said it several times. We don't need to willy-nilly push a corridor through from one side of the country to the other, and then start consulting. We need to consult first, build from the bottom up, not from the top down.
Yes.
The NDP wants to see a clean energy grid from east to west to north. And in fact, Manitoba has started working on the northern portion of that to serve the communities that up until now have been having to use diesel generators to generate electricity for their communities. Indigenous communities are actually in the lead with solar, geothermal, and wind energy production. They're putting their people to work. We should be putting people to work doing things that do not damage the planet. And when it comes
Yes.
Taking 18 years to get approval. My son is a mineral exploration driller. He is working. He is working as much as he wants to work. There are mines that are open, that are running, and also need some oversight because they can't be let to run rampant. It takes a whole bunch of different pieces to have a healthy economy, to have people working, and not everyone can be a miner or a solar technician. There are going to be people who lose their jobs who need help transitioning to other well-paying jobs.
Thank you,
And
Ms.
I
Bates.
to support their
That's right.
Ms. Work-Sears.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna come back to resources and energy corridors, infrastructure corridors and pipelines, but I just want to remark that it's really important when we're talking about jobs and rural areas and rural economies, we have to do it in such a way so that rural economies are not being polluted by the form of resource development, that their water quality is being protected. This is an issue specifically here, the Aberdeen Plateau is where Lake Country and Greater Vernon Water get a majority of their water supply. And there's been an ongoing negotiation between the people who are logging in the watershed around the reservoirs where we all get our water in order to reduce the environmental impact. So there needs to be a conversation, there needs to be appropriate permitting. There's the federal government and the provincial government are providing funding to help reduce the wildfire risk. The TOPO is working with the communities and with the Okanagan Nation in order to reduce fire risk around our reservoirs so that our water will stay clean. It's just an example of what we need in order to help rural communities thrive, help people stay healthy with good water quality. But yeah, not do it just willy-nilly. So that was the only point I wanted to make. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Work-Sears. We were one question in, and all candidates have burned up a rebuttal. Interesting strategy. The second question will be housing. And we will start with Ms. Fisher. What specific federal tools would you deploy to address Canada's housing crisis, particularly for the missing middle, working families and seniors who don't qualify for supports but can't afford market prices?
Yeah, thank you. I have spoken to this a little bit already because it's a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. So in terms of addressing the lack of resources, I think that we have all the resources we need right here with the Green Party policy idea of buying our own Canadian resources. We can address two issues at once. We can protect ourselves from tariffs, and we can protect our workers while building more homes. I think key to this idea of needing to build more homes is that we do need to define what affordable is. And so in doing so, we can make sure that we are supporting all Canadians who need that support. This includes another Green Party policy where we are hoping to raise the income tax deduction for people from where it currently is at. If you make around $15,000 a year or less, you don't pay federal income tax. We are recommending that that be changed to $40,000 a year. You would not be paying federal income tax. So that money would come from taking subsidies away from oil and gas corporations. So money exists. Let's give it to Canadians who need it the most. Growing a real economy that is stable in these very turbulent times requires us to invest in Canadians and not in corporations that are already making record profit. Thank you.
Ms. Warwick-Sears?
One of the biggest things that's really driving the housing affordability is just a lack of supply. We need more houses fast, we need all kinds of houses. The federal government's main role with this provincial government and the municipalities also are extremely involved. So with Mark Carney's housing plan, we're going to build houses faster than we've seen them built since the Second World War. We're going to build them with Canadian materials. We're going to use Canadian lumber and other materials to build prefabricated houses so that they can go up more quickly and more cheaply, especially in the north and rural areas where it's hard to find carpenters. If you have a prefabricated home, you can put it up in 1 or 2 months because all the pieces are already finished. So it is great in northern climates. So we're going to build a lot of homes, we're going to build them fast, but we're also going to build homes for every income level. So we need supportive housing, we need seniors housing, we need long-term care homes, we need all kinds of homes for all different kinds of people. We need homes for young families. We're going to do that by increasing supply very rapidly, but we're not going to do it alone. We're going to do it in partnership with the provincial government, where a lot of the responsibility for housing comes from, and we're going to do it with municipalities because municipalities need to be involved to determine how to grow their cities in the way that's best for their communities. Thank you very much.
Yes, 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 yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. I have read the Liberal plan, and it talks an awful lot about rental, and it does not talk about home ownership. The Conservatives believe that home ownership and equity that is held by individuals is much preferable to rental in the rental nation. Specifically, I'm going to talk about, the problems that, some of the problems caused by flooding immigration. We simply cannot house everybody. So we need to lower our immigration levels, first of all. Second of all, just on a sustainable level. Immigration is good, but not floodgate immigration. Specifically, we're going to get rid of the tax, the sales tax, the GST on houses up to 1.3 million, which sounds like a lot, but if anybody owns a house here, it's not a lot at all anymore, and that's unfortunate. We plan on selling on 6,000 federal buildings and opening some Crown Land building. We are going to be opening 350,000 trade school positions because we need people who can build it, and we need people who are doing that.
What about doctors, nurses?
Deferring the sales tax from the capital gains tax, if it's, as long as it's invested in Canadian building, is going to really stimulate house building here. One of the biggest impediments I found as a city councillor is at the municipal level, and it takes forever. I think it's 18 months last I was here. We need to break that gridlock, and we need to incentivize municipalities to speed that up. And for every DCC saving dollar that the municipalities do, the federal government will give them 50 cents, which is a huge stimulus from a municipal perspective. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm hearing some really good ideas, and at least 3 of the parties agree on a lot of those ideas.
Women are going to fix
One
it.
party has said specifically that they would take away existing housing support programs that go to municipalities. And one thing that nobody out here has mentioned, thank goodness it gives me a chance, municipalities need to build infrastructure to service these houses.
It's true.
Before the houses and the apartment buildings can be built.
Here's your big apologize.
The Federal Rapid Housing Initiative aims to assist municipalities to do that. There have been some hiccups in applying the program and getting it working smoothly, and the Conservative leader has said that program is being cut. I don't care if somebody's in the middle of doing a project on that money, they get not another penny. And furthermore, municipalities will have to prove that they can do the building before we will give them the money that they need to build the building does not make a whole lot of sense. Our communities do need help building and maintaining and repairing and re-maintaining the infrastructure. That's the pipes in the ground, the roads, the
Lots of
streetlights,
jobs.
the bridges, the sidewalks, the natural gas, the electricity. It all costs money. Municipalities are responsible for a lot of it, and they currently only get 8 cents from every local dollar that is collected in Canada to do that work.
Thank you.
Interesting.
I will now ask a question submitted by the audience. The topic is seniors' healthcare, and we will start with Ms. Warwick Sears. Seniors are being placed in hospitals due to the lack of senior facilities. I believe this is resulting in poor use of taxpayer dollars as well as filling hospital beds, which could be better utilized. How would you address this?
Thank you for that. I recently had a relative in long-term care, and it took a long time to get him a bed in that long-term care facility, which is a public facility. The important thing is to build more long-term care homes and to staff them. It's complicated, it takes a while. You have to get the appropriate land. Federal government needs to work with the province and the municipalities to find the sites. And it takes the resources. The Trump tariffs have been increasing the cost of materials, so that has driven up a lot of the costs for building those long-term care homes. But there's no question at all that it does not make sense to have our seniors staying in a hospital bed, using up space, when they could be in a long-term care home where they don't have to be moved again and being taken care of by professional staff. So we need to recruit and train more professional staff. Some of them are going to come to us through immigration. A lot of the best nurses' aides that I saw were Filipinas who were just very well trained and very dedicated to the work. So between building the buildings, working to reduce the costs of building the buildings, and hiring appropriate staff is really going to make a difference. The federal government, of course, is not the agency in charge of doing all the work that the Interior Health does to set up these facilities. But what the federal government can do is it works with communities and gives them resources in order to build those homes, working with the provincial government. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Warwick. Mr. Anderson?
I don't disagree with anything that anybody said. It's a nice wish list to do all that stuff. Part of the trouble is that the federal government doesn't have endless funds. It takes money from taxation, it builds it, and then it passes it out. If you don't have taxation, if you don't have adequate taxes...
But you want to cut taxes.
You cannot do those things.
Make that
So
make
there's two aspects
sense.
to it. One is reducing the red tape that goes around building. Building care homes is like building anything else. You need to be able to do it without the sort of obstructionism that comes from the municipal level, the provincial level, and very often the federal level. You also need to be able to fund it, and to be able to fund it, you need an economy that is humming along, because the government simply doesn't make, it doesn't print, well, unfortunately it does print money, and that's why we're some of the problems that we're in. But without a vibrant economy,
US.
nothing much with the seniors, with the pig and the python problem that we're running into now, which is we've got a very large demographic of seniors and a smaller tail that's being fed by immigration to some extent, but not adequately. So we not only need to get our people working, but we need to make it past this demographic that's coming up right now. But reducing red tape, getting the economy working, will actually fund all of the things that my colleagues are talking about, which are fun things, building more seniors residences so that they can retire in place. That is a wonderful idea. We have to fund it though. Thank you.
People hand their money over.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Like what my colleague said, if you aren't paying taxes, you can't spend the money. Which
Trickle
means that
down
we
never
do
happens.
not-
Rich
we need
people
to keep
don't
discussion
share.
at a level that does allow us to do things we need to do. We can't leave seniors in hospital corridors or taking up hospital beds when they need to be in long-term care. But we also need to intervene at the beginning of that process and provide the services that seniors need to stay at home as long as they are able.
Yes.
And we do need more facilities of various sorts, and it's going to look different from community to community. Indigenous communities take care of their elders in a different way than Lebanese communities do, or than Scottish communities do, or that mixed ethnicity communities do. So we need to really pay attention to what is needed and build properly for that. It is a federal, provincial, territorial, and municipal collaboration that is needed to resolve this issue and to do it in quick fashion so that we do not leave more and more seniors languishing with inadequate care. Thank you.
Ms. Fisher?
So we've heard from all three of the larger parties that they know what to do. And so I've just been sitting here thinking, well, why haven't we done this? Why are people in this situation? Right? If everybody here knows what to do and how to do it, where is it? So this is one of the reasons why I feel it's very important to have a Green Party candidate here in Vernon Lake Country, Monashee. We hear over and over again the same promises, the same rhetoric, and we have more seniors stuck in hospital beds. We have nursing staff run off their feet. We have doctors who cannot perform all of their duties. And apparently everybody knows what to do. So I think, as we've heard, there are solutions to these very important issues. But I think it's time to consider electing people who haven't broken any promises. Thank you.
In order to tackle as many topics as possible, I will now be asking questions to individual candidates. You do have your rebuttals available to you if it's a topic you wish to discuss. Going back to Mr. Anderson, I'll ask you a question from the audience. The topic is trade. So how will you support our local businesses to open up trade with other provinces?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yes. How will you support our local businesses to open up trade with other provinces?
Well, this comes back to red tape again. We have, for instance, if a mechanic is trained in BC, they need retraining to move to a different province. Why? I have to ask why that is. It is a money grab by each province to do that, because training a trained mechanic is a little bit redundant unless the engines are radically different in a different province. And to my knowledge, I'm not a mechanic, but to my knowledge, they're not. There should be no reason why people are required to retrain. In fact, this goes to the national level too. I think Pierre Poilievre said that he was talking about a doctor who was trained in a different country and came here and was not allowed to be a doctor. So he goes back every once a year for a month and does surgeries in a different country, and then comes back here and he's trained to be a technician. Why is that? If we have a
Because it's not
standard,
meeting the
a standard
standards.
across
Duh.
Canada, that people can be trained one time and be able to work across Canada. It's the same thing as being trained in a different country. If they can satisfy the requirement to be a doctor in Canada, why are they not a doctor here?
That's an immigrant.
So I
Standards,
think that this comes down to redundant bureaucratic red tape, much of which can be cut, some of which is required, but much of it can be cut. So I'm certainly in favor of doing that. In a sense, it's a mixed blessing, the United States, because now it's a stimulus to do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vernon.
Ignorant. So maddening.
Ms. May. Some U.S. political figures have increasingly made inflammatory remarks questioning Canada's independence. Referring to us as the 51st state, how would you and your party respond to these threats to Canada's sovereignty, and what will you do to reinforce our national identity and protect our autonomy on the world stage?
Well, in the words of Charlie Angus, elbows up.
Yes. Woo!
Canada is not the sovereign,
Organic.
it's not the 51st state. We are in agreement with issuing countervailing tariffs. We also need to look at non-tariff actions that we can take, such as when a company such as GM closes a factory and lays off the workers, as they did in Ontario just last week. The equipment in that factory stays in Canada. They do not get to remove their physical assets, which we provided subsidies for them to build in the first place. The New Democratic Party wants to keep Canada sovereign and safe for all Canadians, which is why we would use the money from the countervailing tariffs to support families, to support small businesses and medium-sized businesses, and that we would start to look for partnerships, economic, business, cultural, social partnerships with other countries around the world, Europe, Asia, Australia, you name it. We don't have to put all of our eggs in the United States basket, and we won't do it again.
Ms. Bishop, the topic is forestry. What would your party do to aid the forest industry in dealing with American tariffs?
Well, as we know, the forestry industry here in Canada is one of our main industries. It's incredibly important and very important to this area. And as I've said, the Green Party has a policy where we recommend buying all of the extra resources that no longer can be sold to the states for profit, and then using those Canadian resources for all of this infrastructure that we need to build in terms of housing, in hospital facilities, long-term care facilities, as we've heard. So all of those resources are very important. All of those jobs are very important, and we could put them to use here, which would do Canada a lot of good in terms of building our sovereignty, building our communities, and taking care of each other. I would also like to add to that we do need to continue to make sure that we have well-managed forests, that we have proper permitting in place, and I know the forestry industry here in BC continues to work towards those things, and will continue to do so. I don't think any of those permitting, consultation practices, or environmental practices should be considered red tape. Those are the very things that protect us all.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Ms. Warwick-Sears, there was a question from the audience directed for you. And it is, as a former NDP candidate, what has changed in your views to justify running for the Liberal Party?
it's funny how often I get that question. I ran for the NEP provincially because our communities really needed better service from Victoria. We were not getting services from the BC United candidate that was our elected representative there. And we really wanted to have somebody from the governing party in Victoria to help communities get those resources. It was a big team. It was a team with people from all different parties helping me out. And although we did not succeed in that election, it was a very good process and a very good election, and I felt really good about it. However, I wasn't thinking about running after that. I was taking a break. I was just put it out of my mind, and then I was approached by friends here in Vernon who asked me very strongly to run, much for the same reason. Our communities need much better representation. It looks like Mark Carney, well, unless something really weird happens, Mark Carney's going to form government, and Vernon.
Yes.
The entire riding needs and deserves to have a representative who is there at the decision-making table, there where decisions are being made about funding, there where your representative can bring your needs and concerns. It's a different year. It's a different year. It's a different government. There are different needs. It's in completely different context. This time, we're being faced by this external threat of Donald Trump, not just the tariffs, not just the 51st state, but the economic chaos that we're having to deal with. I wanted to have Mark Carney be the leader because he's a world famous economist and he knows how to deal with these things.
Yes. Absolutely. 100%.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Mr. Anderson. The topic is crime and public safety. How would you tackle the catch and release concerns related to violent and repeat offenders while maintaining judicial fairness and rehabilitation goals?
That's a good question. Every quarter we have RCMP. When I was in council in Vernon, we had an RCMP report. And at the time, and I suspect it's not much change right now, there were 6 individuals who were known as repeat offenders. And these repeat offenders were prolific offenders. I think is the term that RCMP used. And by prolific, I mean several times a day. And they would be caught, they were revolving in and out of jail, and so at any given report, 3 of them would be in jail and 3 would be out. And when they were all out, or the majority of them out, it would actually physically raise the crime rate in Vernon, because they just don't stop. Those people need to be in jail. There's simply no reason that they should be in at 10 o'clock and out by 12. It is outrageous that is occurring. The other thing is that the straight stimulus to drugs, and in particular petty crime, is the addiction crisis. And I use addiction crisis because we are used to calling it the overdose crisis. Overdoses are a symptom of addiction. They're not the crisis itself. It's like a coughing crisis when the actual problem is that we have a cold. We propose a treatment-based one, not a sort of one that keeps people alive and on the street. We want to treat people to get them off drugs, not simply on a substitute for drugs.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. May, can you use your vote?
I want to make a few comments. It is not an overdose problem, it is a poisoning problem. The drugs that are on the streets now are lethal. They are lethal combinations of many different drugs, including fentanyl, diazepam, plus meth.
Drink.
You never know. A person never knows what they're putting in their arm. What needs to happen for that is to attack source of those drugs. Addiction is a health issue. And there's not one single treatment that will cure every single patient. We need to have a suite of treatments to use to help people who have fallen into addiction. We also need to understand that it's not necessarily true that a person becomes homeless because they're addicted. Oftentimes they become addicted because they're homeless. So we have some bigger problems to deal with.
Thank you, Ms. May. The next question is back to you. We're sticking in order. The topic is Indigenous affairs. What concrete actions will your government take to advance reconciliation and support Indigenous-led economic development in this region?
I would start by honoring the 97 calls to reconciliation by supporting the UN rights of Indigenous peoples and enshrining that in our state. As you can see, I'm wearing a red dress pin that was made for me by an Indigenous friend of mine. I'm also, I have to say it this way, I'm also wearing my King Charles III coronation medal. So I am sitting here representing in some fashion both the crown and the Indigenous people with whom the crown made treaties. We have to address that issue. We have to take responsibility for how we treat with Indigenous nations, with the Inuit, the Métis, the First Nations, both on reserve and off reserve, both in urban centers and in rural centers. It is a big issue. There are 4 branches of government in Canada. There's local government, usually municipalities, but there's counties and regional districts. There are provinces and territories. There's the federal government, and there are Indigenous nations living among us, living with us, and we need to be better nations, better neighbors.
Thank you, Ms. May. Ms. Fisher, the topic is representation and local accountability. What is one unique issue to the Vernon, Lake Country, Monashee riding that you will fight for in Ottawa?
Yeah, in danger of repeating myself, fire, drought, erratic weather patterns that cause crop loss. That for me is something that we are dealing with at a larger scale here in Vernon, Lake Country, Monashee than I think some other places in Canada are. There are fires other places. However, I feel like we are sort of uniquely situated to bear the brunt of a lot of it, and that needs to be brought to Ottawa. We need to have federal investment in climate mitigation and climate adaptation. We need to protect our agriculture sector. We need to protect our forestry sector. But all of those sectors come back down to protecting our environment. We can't have any of it if we don't protect our environment. And as all of us in this room know, every year it feels like we are under threat, we are under attack. And while all across Canada we see affordability issues, cost of living issues, everyone is concerned about national security, we're the ones that have to face the summers in the way that they have become here. So for me, that is the main unique thing that I would bring for Vernon, Lake Country, Monashee.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Mr. Overseers, the topic is national security and defense commitments. Canada has repeatedly fallen short of its NATO commitment to spend 2% of GDP on defense. In light of rising global tensions and the need to modernize our military, do you support meeting this target? If not, how will you ensure Canada remains a reliable defense partner while maintaining security at home?
I 100% support Canada protecting our sovereignty by having more investment in Canadian security. Particular concern is up in the Arctic, where one of the reasons why Mr. Trump is so interested in us, he wants to have more influence on the Arctic Canada and on Greenland, because that is where, because of climate change, the ice is not as thick, and now you can have transport with icebreakers all along the north. There's also a lot of critical minerals there that are being eyed by the American government, the Russians, and other foreign powers. It is very important for Canada to increase our security and to increase our partnerships with other nations and not be entirely dependent on the United States, or even as dependent as much as we are. I strongly believe in rebuilding the strength of Canada's military and really focusing on how we protect our country. Protection is one of my core motivators. I really, really want to protect Canada, protect Canadians, protect our communities, and we are going to need better armed forces and more defense spending in order to do that. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Now we're going to move on to a lightning round, given the time. So the time per question will go down to 1 minute per candidate. And I will introduce either a question or topic. You will have a minute to starting with Mr. Anderson. What is something absent from your party's platform that you would like to be included?
Please repeat that.
What is something that is absent from your party's platform that you would like to be included?
I can't think of anything.
It is a minute or less.
Well, whenever you present any platform, it is devoid of, often devoid of any of the granular, how are you going to do this? I think probably the military aspect of it, I would drill down into exactly what that is. We've been living under the American defense umbrella since 1945, essentially. Now that is, I wouldn't say it's withdrawn, but who knows whether it's there or not right now. We have no way of knowing what's coming from the United States. And when it does come, we don't have no idea what next week may bring. So I specifically want to see a northern footprint enlarged. We talk about it. It's not that somebody's going to come and take our resources.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Payne, your topic is proportional representation.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Bring it on.
The biggest reason I want you to send me to Parliament to represent you is that without the third and fourth and fifth voices in Parliament, it's just going to go liberal, conservative, liberal, conservative, liberal, conservative forever. Neither of them has any intention of bringing the issue of proportional representation to the floor of Parliament. We need the NDP, we need the Greens, we need any other party to be in there, raising our voices, saying, you two do not represent all of us. We don't want our voice to be silenced by not having representation in Parliament. Proportional representation of whatever format we eventually come up with is critical to our cohesion and our feeling of belonging.
I
agree. Ms. Fisher, federal carbon tax.
So I might surprise you all by saying that I actually do agree with cutting the carbon tax for the individual at the pump that we've recently seen. I don't think that it's the responsibility of the individual to pay the cost of the climate crisis that we're seeing. Because the reality is that one person living their life, even if it's a North American lifestyle, comes nowhere close to what corporations, big businesses, and billionaires are doing to our world every single day. Those are the people that need to be paying for what they have done to this globe. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson, you would like to use your rebuttal?
I'd like to talk about the carbon tax. There's a great misunderstanding about what is actually going on. Mr. Carney has taken away the domestic one, the one we see at the pumps, and loaded it onto the industrial tax. Now that sounds fair. We could be taxing millionaires and billionaires and everything's great. The trouble with that is that we end up paying for it because it raises the price of goods and we all pay for it. So what our party wants to do is abolish both the domestic and the industrial tax so that it's on through legislation, through legislative agreement. Right now it's temporarily disconnected by order in council. That can be changed at the drop of a hat right after the election. We want to abolish it legislatively so it's gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Fisher?
Thank you for your concern. No misunderstanding over here. Actually, what millionaires and billionaires and large oil corporations will not be able to trickle down what they receive from us in subsidies. And in fact, if trickle-down economics really did work, they wouldn't be so terrified to pay their taxes because it would all come back to them. Therefore, we need to stand up as a federal government for our people.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Over to you, Ms. Warwick-Sears. Your topic is invasive species protection and funding.
Oh my goodness, shocking. I actually spoke to the House of Commons about this last year. The cost of potential invasive species, specifically aquatic invasive species, invasive zebra and quagga mussels, and now there's a new
She's a rock
It is
star.
going to be radical. It's huge. It's going to change our lakes. It's going to change everything about how we manage our infrastructure. The only way to stop them is to stop them from coming into BC and our waters altogether. It's very important for the federal government to step up federal spending because this is something that's going from one province to the next. And we need funding for boat inspections and for bylaw officers and a lot of other things just to reduce the costs that would have to pay in the future. Money we spent now is money very well spent.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Just to remind you, Ms. Warwick-Sears, you're the only one with a rebuttal left. You're the only one with a rebuttal left, if you'd like to use it. No? That's the purpose. We'll continue. You can use your rebuttal. Back to you, Mr. Anderson. Federal investment in mental health services. Federal investment in mental health services.
Here we go. This guy.
It actually can be quite difficult to hear.
Yeah, it's reverberating. Yeah, it's quite reverberates quite badly up here. Funding, there are many problems that we have. Mental health is certainly one of them. Mental health also is involved with addiction. Very often it's impaired because of self-medication. Our government, my party, the Conservative Party, wants to tackle addiction, and part of that is mental health. We need to increase funding for mental health. In order to fund mental health, we need a vibrant economy.
Liar.
So there are so many things that we need to attack, but we can't simply say, well, the government has to pay for it, because the government can't pay for everything. We will never achieve perfection, but we need to be able to fund those things that are important, and mental health is certainly one of them.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
That's a bad answer.
Ms. Payne. Childcare.
Billionaires paid $9 50% taxes like they used to be.
Let's hear it for $10 a day childcare.
So
Working people should be able to raise families, and they shouldn't have to pay all of what they earn to have their children taken care of. Raising children takes a village, it takes a neighborhood, it takes a country. We all have an investment, emotional as well as economic and educational. We have an investment in our collective children. And so I support any investment that the federal government can put into childcare in all of its different forms.
Ms. Fisher? Foreign ownership of residential real estate.
ooh, good one.
So I'm mostly against that. I think that what we see is an economy based off of investors and for investors instead of something that supports the people who actually live here. I think that we have to have very strict regulations and laws about who can come in and purchase homes or multiple homes and leave them vacant. None of that is benefiting those of us who live and work in these places. And we need to have federal oversight of some of those things and create a Canada that is for the people and not for investment. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Ms. Warwick-Sears, gun control.
Gun control. Well, you can't really have, you can't be tough on crime when you aren't tough on guns. I strongly support laws that keep our communities safe and focus on illegal firearms, organized crime, and gun smuggling. We can protect the rights of farmers, hunters, and sports shooters while keeping dangerous weapons out of the wrong hands.
Yes.
I saw one on the list. There's a whole list of rocket launchers.
Yes.
Ordinary people don't need rocket launchers.
No.
Public safety comes first.
Yes.
Like solutions, but the solutions must be smart, fair, and effective. So I just want to point out that Mr. Poilievre has opposed every meaningful gun safety measure.
Yes. Quit smirking.
Very devil's advocate for the Liberal government has made some severe mistakes in gun legislation. They've hit coffee companies in the legislature and trying to rush it out, so they definitely need to be more careful with that.
Well, like
And
everything
the
else, it's a great
overwhelming
idea.
majority
It's
of gun
certainly
violence is
more
by
difficult
smuggled
to
U.S.
large
weapons.
urban
This is the
cities.
primary
We
issue
have struggled
when it comes to
here
gun control.
with the problem when we were on the brink of a city the size, and I'm talking about Vernon right now, that can sort of afford a transportation system, but it doesn't have the ridership because it's not a good enough transportation system to attract people on a regular basis. So you have to wait, I mean, most of you who take, those of us who take buses, know you wait a very long time. And so
Where are you going to get the money?
I've always lived in big
Cutting
cities.
taxes.
In big cities, you go to the bus stop and every 20 minutes or even faster than that, buses will come by and it's just not a problem. In this town, we can't afford to do that. We can't afford to have this circular transportation. So what we have is a sort of patchwork thing where we look at the most remote.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Payne, tax relief for small business.
Definitely.
Right? Easy.
Any rebuttals?
Who could disagree with that?
Ms. Fisher, universal
You would
pharmacare
disagree.
in Canada.
Yes, absolutely. And we need universal pharmacare, not just in how we see currently what our healthcare system looks like, but it needs to include full dental coverage. It needs to include full access to counseling services. It needs to be true pharmacare. nobody should have to pay an extra $20 and then their insurance covers a little bit extra for their medication. And then we say that Canada has free healthcare. So I also think that by having universal pharmacare in a way that's actually universal, what we would see is a reduction in some crime, which are really truly mental health crises.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Ms. Warwick-Sears, allowing private healthcare delivery under the public system.
I don't know if you guys know this, but healthcare bills are the #1 cause of bankruptcies in the United States, by far. And this is because of the privatized health system that is still there, besides the attempts at making it public by Mr. Obama. It is very, very hard on families. I can't even tell you how horrible it is for people who they don't have health insurance. They can't take care of themselves. They can't go to the hospital because they can't afford it. Here in Canada, we absolutely 100% need to protect our universal health care. There's no place for that kind of cruelty and
The human right.
lack of humanity that can take place underneath a privatized health system.
Yes, hear, hear.
Mr. Anderson, allowing GST exemption on new rental housing projects.
New rental housing project?
Correct.
Well, we certainly encourage it if we need more low-income housing. That's certainly we need more housing across the spectrum. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say about rental housing. We need more of it. We need more ownership housing as well. We need housing of all sorts, and the solution to that is less red tape, less taxes, more incentive to government to build it.
Oh my God.
And we don't have unlimited funds to do that, so we need to be very careful about how we do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
There's a non-answer.
Ms. Meehan, the Israel-Palestine conflict.
Ooh.
I'm Jewish by heritage. I was raised putting nickels in the can to plant trees in Israel. A land without people for a people without land. Why? Ooey. I absolutely support the determinations of the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice in calling the depredations against Gaza and the West Bank are crimes against humanity.
Yes.
I've been saying this since long before October 7th, 2023. The NDP stance on this is that MP Heather McPherson brought a bill to Parliament calling for a
Thank you, Ms.
boycott
Meehan.
on armaments.
Implementing a national strategy to boost domestic food production.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We have incredible farmers here in Canada. We have the ability to feed every Canadian right now. I think that we need to support increased food security, especially in light of everything happening down south of us. We have the ability to do that right now. We also need to be supporting farmers to navigate the effects of climate change happening right now. And we need to do it in a way that's not simply reactive. We need to do it in a way that is understanding what is happening and trying to problem solve in a way that we could do with new technologies and by consulting with farmers with what they need.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. This will be the last question before going into closing comments. Your topic is equalization payments.
Equalization payments to the provinces from the federal government. This is a topic that I think about with respect to how much funding British Columbia gets relative to the other provinces. Certainly, this was another thing I talked to the House of Commons about. The bulk of the payments go to the places where there is the highest density of population. Yet, if there are costs related to climate change, natural disasters, wildfires, and we are not able to mitigate them ahead of time, if we can't put in infrastructure, manage our forests in such a way, then it's going to cost them much, much more, 10 times more, to help us with disaster. So that's just one example. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. And then we will go over closing comments, as we will get 2 minutes each. It will be the reverse order of the introductory statements. So we will begin with Ms. Warwick-Sears.
Oh, good.
When you're ready.
It's me. Yeah, now I have to find my notes for my closing statements, you know. Okay. If you elect me, I'm going to do what Scott Anderson can't. I'm going to have a seat at the table.
Yes!
I'm going to be in the room where the decisions are made, where funding is secured, and where voices from Vernon, Lake Country, Monashee can finally be heard.
Yes!
To have a representative in government has been a long time coming. Heckling from the sidelines as a member of the opposition doesn't deliver health care or build housing. It won't bring childcare to families who need it right now. There are great things happening in Greater Vernon. The Cultural Center, the Active Living Center, we're getting new filtration for the drinking water treatment. That's all possible. It's all happening right now, but we'll have a big reduction in local tax requirements if we get more funding from the federal government, and that's what you can get when you have a representative at the table.
Yes!
I think she still has more time. Your mic cut off?
Oh, there we go. I see you. I hear you. I care deeply about the community. I'm ready to fight for you every single day in Ottawa. Let's choose progress. Let's move forward together. Thank you very much.
Woo!
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Ms. Fisher.
So I say again to everybody here, the same parties have been in power for quite a while, and we haven't seen a lot of their promises followed through on. I know I, for one, have been incredibly disappointed with the way our country is going. I don't understand how people can stand and say that they could be the voice of change for you when it's the same parties. The only voice of change really that I see are the Greens who continue to stand up and say, we will fight for our environment, we will fight for the people who live here, and we will not back down on our standards or our promises. If I were elected your MP, I would go to Ottawa and fight specifically for Vernon, Lake Country, Monashee to get real help right now for the problems that we face while helping to create a Canada that we hope to see, not one that is the second best situation because we're afraid. Vote for hope. Don't vote for fear. A true democracy is where we can make a real and informed choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Ms. May.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking with you, answering your questions. I think it's obvious to everyone that we face enormous problems. And just one example, I was evacuated from my home last summer. I live in a community that had one road out, the rest was closed by fire. That was scary. And that's just one of the things that we're dealing with, climate change that comes as fire, flood, drought, hurricanes, you name it, we're getting it. When the planet is on fire, we need to elect political firefighters. And I am a fighter. I will fight as an NDP representative, the third voice in Parliament. When you send me to Ottawa, I will fight. I will speak for the Vernon, Lake Country, Monashee, Arrow, and Spokane Lakes riding. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. I'm not sure if my Liberal colleague has actually looked at the dynamic of the polls lately, because it appears that the Carney bump is over and it's starting to reverse a little bit. More importantly, I'm not sure that she understands how government works at the federal level. A person who is a backbencher with the government is no more or less powerful than a backbencher in the opposition seats. What does matter is in caucus, when somebody has an actual voice and the leadership capability to speak up. And I am pleased that I have 7 years of a record that you can check. If you Google Scott Anderson Vernon, you will find that I stand up and raise my hand, even when it's difficult to do, over things that it may not appear to be very easy, and they're not, frankly. We've heard a lot today about funding. Funding is great if the government will give it up. The reason the government doesn't, I mean, these ideas are great. If we take all these ideas, I think we have a perfect society. The trouble is it has to be paid for. And it has to be paid for by pragmatic methods, not by wish lists that, well, we should do this and we should do that. Sure we should, but we have to pay for it. If we don't pay for it, it won't happen. So, and I'm going to give you an example. I run perhaps the greenest company in North Okanagan. I'm not going to mention its name. What we do is we take a load of garbage and we separate it out, unlike just dumping it in the dump. We separate it out so that very little, I think 1/3 ends up actually in the dump. Those are pragmatic ways of dealing with the environment. They're not wish lists that we can maybe pay for someday if we're lucky. Thank you.
Didn't we start doing that in the 70s?
Thanks again to all of our partners, guests, and candidates for joining us.
Cycle.
Wow, what an idea.
And thank you to the Performing Arts Center for providing the venue and tech support to stream. A reminder that the event polls are open tomorrow with the election on April 28th. So get out and vote. How about one more round of applause for all of our candidates?
That was awesome.
It was more engaging than I thought it
It
would
was
be.
fun. I've never been on one.
Yeah.
I admit it. I admit it.
Yeah.
That was fun. I have so much to say. There's so much. There's so much bullshit. So much bullshit. I'm gonna have to cut my video right there. I'm gonna have to go cut it. So if we have any Americans watching, what do you think? This is Canadian Politics in Action. It's a federal election. Nationwide, and we have 4 parties debating tonight, so not the usual 2. So NDP, Green Party, Liberal Party, and then on the right is the Conservative Party. So our left is split 3 ways, which is interesting. So as of today, the Conservatives, in this is a conservative area, typically, traditionally. So the Fellow is conservative, and they have approximately 50% in the it's 338canada.ca is the name of the site. It's not a polling site, but it's a combination of polls, statistics, data, and research that people do. And currently, as of today, the election is on April 28th. As of today, the Conservatives have 50% on that site. The Liberals, which is this party that I support, is at 41%. The NDP party, the lady with the purple hair, they're at 7%, and the Green Party, the younger lady, 2%. So if you combine all the votes of the left of the spectrum, that's 50%. So we are literally in a left-right split down the middle, and that is actually, I don't know if it's a record for this riding, that is typically quite conservative. So I think a lot of Conservatives are leaving the party because of, the Trump Maple MAGA situation. So the Liberals would be the next party over for Conservative moderates to go to, and then so it's a bit of a different election than usual. People are changing loyalties. There's a lot of strategic voting going on. So a lot of people that normally vote NDP or Green are voting Liberal this time because the Conservatives have to be defeated, because Pierre Poilievre, our national Conservative leader, is buddies with Trump and Musk, as per having meetings with them privately and whatnot. So it's definitely an interesting election, and a lot of people are not necessarily voting with their hearts. If I was voting with my heart, I would be probably normally NDP Green-ish, but it's different. Like right now, but Anna, so the candidate that I'm supporting, the Liberal candidate, is typically, she ran NDP provincially in the fall, and I was on her campaign as well. So she went to the Liberal Party in order to, it's sort of different. We're all kind of off our game a little bit. So it's a really unique election. So we're going to see what happens. And we need that vote split to change, and change fast. Our federal Green leader has stated that the candidates across the country that are Green in ridings that are at risk are stepping down in order to prevent the left. No worries, to prevent the vote split situation from happening. So that is a serious issue, and we're gonna see what we can do. It's just different. It's very different. I think Trump has thrown a real wrench into our country and our situation. So we have to rethink everything. So, Americans, I hope you know that you do affect the entire world. And we're not the only country having this conversation right now. So, I can tell you Denmark is certainly having the same conversation, as is Panama. And, so anyways, it's really interesting. Yeah. Do you care to share your thoughts about tonight?
Oh man, yeah.
Audio or video or both?
Oh, just audio.
Just audio. Okay, yeah. So what did you think?
Well, I enjoyed the NDP and Green.
I know, me too.
Speeches the most. I think Leo was the most direct, with a good balance between
So
the
strong.
policy with actual figures as well.
He's a hero.
Yeah, it was really good. Green also had a lot of the good moral arguments and everything like that. It's a shame I feel like I have to vote strategically this time.
I know, because my heart's kind of, it's tough. It's a heart thing, and then there's the practical thing.
Such as that, because there's I feel like I can't choose entirely for what party holds my actual values. I have to choose what's going to have the best end results right now.
Right.
And
Which is different than usual.
I don't want to risk the status quo right now. It's frightening the shift that could cause with how the conservative elements have been going, and I was really hoping that there would be a bit of a...
Would you mind, you just
Slowly start moving our way. Sure.
to finish cleaning and making passive until everybody's happy.
Right. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Anna, so good. I'm so excited. That was very well done. Thank you.
Yes, and I mean, but this is the thing. He can think on his feet. They get around it.
Right, that was excellent. That was very, very good. So I might take out, see what people think. So we'll get out and see what other Canadians are thinking for this election, because it's so unique. It's a moment in time that is very different. So any other thoughts, Dylan, that you want to share?
Yeah, I was really hoping that the conservative speaker would actually give me something to think about, but it's really disappointing that it's just parroting everything, all the rhetoric in the federal side of things. Like, it's exact, and a lot of it's self-contradicting. It's really confounding to me that that's the platform that they're vigilantly sticking to. It's really confusing. And again, for context, I'm new to the whole, I'm new to actually engaging with politics, and the only vote I cast for the conservative, and they're really just dropping the ball in every respect, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, the piece said it parroting.
Yeah, it's the exact same talking points over and over and over again, and there's misinformation in a lot of it.
Or
that
empty.
Just confuses me. I don't understand why they can't make their own argument. I can make better arguments against the other parties than the conservatives can.
Right. I can
And
make
don't see
their
why
arguments
that's-
for them
I don't
better than
understand
you.
why that would be the case. It's just, they're not contextualizing anything in a way that makes sense.
That's right.
There's no logic in it. It's so strange to me. I really thought they could be more persuasive than that for a local candidate, but it's the exact same rhetoric.
It's almost like the candidates in that part of the spectrum are not as sophisticated as they once were. Like, the people running are just not
I can't even get a
what
sense
they
of
used to be.
I can't get a sense of their actual values either.
That's right.
It's really strange. I don't know how much they're just vouching for their own business interests in some
It's business
way.
interests
Because
and anger.
on one, I don't know.
Fear.
It's so weird. It makes me really uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. That's it. Like, what is it? It's so it's like their agenda is hidden, and that's what's uncomfortable about it, because there's no answers. There were no answers.
No, they're evasive. They're really evasive. And they contextualize everything away from the actual question. It's just like misdirection. I really can't find any merit to it. And I was really trying to. I really want there to be...
Totally.
I want two primary parties
And
to
give
both
it a
have reasonable
chance.
ideas.
Like,
Exactly.
listen, and then find a point in it that was worth exploring.
Exactly.
And then government
But
works
there's nothing I can
together.
dig into, because the only things they say, like, I already have access to figures that are completely against the grain of what they're saying.
Right.
And they can't even address those
Yeah.
issues. They just recontextualize everything. Oh, tax cuts are going to help everybody. Well, no.
Like, we're going to put more resources into mental health, but you want to cut taxes.
Exactly.
Where are you
that's
getting
the
the money?
contradictory thing. Because
Don't
he's
say
talking
that.
about we can't pay for anything, but then you're talking about cutting taxes.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. You're not generating any revenue. It just seems like they want to cash in on resource trades.
Yeah.
But
So
they're
I
not
think he
actually going to
thinks-
put that to any of the programs. They're voting to cut all these programs.
Yeah.
So it's
and
not
they
about
think if
being
you cut
efficient,
taxes
it's-
to billionaires, that the billionaires are going to create more business up here. Do you think it's trickling down? It's not trickling down. It's not
The
happening.
biggest issue I had, the most contradictory thing that Mr. Anderson said throughout the entire thing, was how he later in the debate he described the U.S. as being unstable and unreliable. Yet earlier on, in like the first couple of questions, he was talking about securing like further negotiation with them, securing more trade with them. No mention of foreign trade. No mention of how the rest of the world is dethroning the U.S. So he's playing both the sycophant and the staunch resistor. It doesn't make any sense. But at the end of the day, the U.S. has completely and utterly proven that they can't be trusted.
No.
And he's sitting on the fence. And that's what the
And
whole
threatening
party's
to invade
strategy.
us at the same time.
And that's the
Where's that?
the most inflammatory thing he said
Yeah.
early on was that, oh, they haven't said the 51st state thing in a while. Which is demonstrably false, by the way. 3 days ago, Trump still said he was determined to annex Canada.
Right. Like, we're
So
making
it's-
this shit up.
Yes, and of course, no mention over how the party leader spent 2 weeks sitting behind closed doors with advisors, reformatting the campaign because their primary strategy of attacking Trudeau disappeared when he stepped down, and then every other party within a day was decrying the U.S.'s desire to annex us, and Pierre was quiet for 2 weeks
Yeah.
before he started
Polyev.
saying anything against it.
Right.
Like, it's spineless, and it really shows where their values actually lie. I'm really disappointed to see that trickle down. Like, I can give an amount of faith between federal candidates and like provincial or people running for MP, but when I see no blurring of the line there, it just seems like doctrine. It's
super. I like your word uncomfortable.
yeah.
It really was uncomfortable. Like, he never mentioned his basement full of guns. He didn't get the question.
Yeah.
He was smirking the whole time that Anna was addressing.
Anytime
the gun
anybody
control.
challenged him, he had that little smirk. But I don't need to attribute anything to like physical characteristics.
That's
I'm
true.
not
That's
even
true.
gonna, I'm
That's
not even
true.
going to attempt to analyze their
Right.
body language. I
Right.
take
We know
clock
what
it,
he's
but it doesn't
thinking.
matter.
That's right.
It's not even that. I'm not even going to make the assumption. I'm going to let
Right.
their words ring, right?
That's
And
true.
it just
Yeah.
he undermined himself during the debate.
He
I
did.
don't- I
He's
don't- I
not
don't-
sophisticated enough to be an MP in Ottawa. He's just not. He's not there. He doesn't have he doesn't have the qualifications. He's nowhere near qualified. I could do better. I mean, I could defend his party better than he did.
Exactly.
I could. I know their
that's the
talking
confounding
points,
part, yeah.
and I can dig deep and find some passion for it. Even like, he has no idea. That's unbelievable. Couldn't they do better? Wow.
Yeah.
Because this riding is supposed to be a given for them, so they didn't have to find somebody fantastic. They just, like.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not saying he's terrible either. I'm just saying.
Well,
I disagree with
can't-
him. So, but
I can't say anything to his character because I don't understand what he stands for based on his debate.
right.
He didn't. Like, everything he's saying is so self-contradictory. All I can tell is he's either confused or lying about something.
yeah,
I can't even tell you
right.
what.
Yes, I think they've been found out. I think
Yeah.
they've been found out, and the stuff they've been hiding all these decades is now coming out, and Trump started that. So thank you, Trump, for bringing it. So
Well, I won't go that far.
Mexican long hair's here. He's in Denver, and he's watching. He's loving this. So he's really good. He thinks he likes we're doing up here. So yeah, that was a really cool. Good to see you, MLH. Really good to see you. So we just finished our all-candidate debate in our federal election in this local riding. So it was pretty damn cool. So we're pretty proud of Our Lady, and she did fantastic, but our left is split three ways. The left equals 50% of the vote, the polling it currently, and the Conservatives, the right, one person represents the remaining 50%. So that's a bit of a problem for us. So, the left needs to unite. So if I had a moment to talk to Leah and Blair, I would say, my heart is with you. You are a rock star.
Yeah.
You inspire, and you know what we need to do. Please don't let this happen.
Yeah, I felt really bad because
They are both amazing.
Yeah.
They are. But Anna is more qualified than anybody up there by a long shot. You can tell. She has a doctorate in science.
I need to talk with her more because
Yeah.
she for me she was second last in the debate just because I feel like she didn't actually say a whole lot. Like,
Okay.
she espoused a lot of values
Yeah,
that I agree with,
right.
but there wasn't a lot
Yeah.
of talk about actual policy, which is where the NDP really
Specific
impressed me.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they picked on specific issues.
Yes,
So she
and-
did keep it pretty high level. You're
and the-
right.
And the Green hit one of
They might be doing that intentionally. That might be political science in action. That strategy, because she
I
has
figured that, but
likely been coached very, very well.
and that's
you know.
that's the thing though is
There's more
people
to
can
it.
pick up on that.
We can ask her. She
wouldn't
can.
mind.
She can teach us. She can tell us what's behind that. Like, what's the science of political science? What was like your delivery, your answers to those questions? What did they mean? Like, what there is more
I'm
to
in
it.
this weird place where I care less about optics, which is
Right.
almost a suicidal thing to
Image.
say as a politician.
Yeah.
If you're a politician, that's like
That's all
a
it is.
death knell.
Because
But
they're just a
but
face.
I want information to be clear and concise. I mean, the number of talking points you can destroy
Yeah.
with just a little bit of homework.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
It's it's important.
Let's go to the table here because the whole crew is here. This is our group. I'm going to flip around, you guys. This is the Liberal crew here. Hi, how are you? I'm live on YouTube. Is everybody okay with that? Okay, I got the whole thing, so. Yeah. So I have it, so I'll share it everywhere.
Good. And then they do record the chamber too.
Oh, do they? Okay, so it'll be a probably better quality than mine. Because I'm like, "Grr, no, boo, liar.
We'll have the recording from them, and then they'll have like you know how people do, I'll watch this video and I'll make comments.
Yeah. I'm like the provocateur in the back, like the liar. Like I thought of you actually.
I wanted to yell lies when he said about the Liberals only want rental housing. I'm like, what the
Where did you get that from?
I wanted to yell
Liar.
liar, but it was right at the beginning. I'm like, I don't want to get kicked out and then miss the whole thing.
I kind of wish, like, I have my Maple Mega banner in the van. I was gonna bring it and stand in the back. But that's these are remind me. This is Brian, right?
Yes.
This is Anna's partner, and then
That
is
was
that
Mayor Cummings.
he's the mayor of Vernon, right? Yeah. So those are the two. Yeah. So they're really strong supporters of Anna. It's really great. What a great group of
We have a good like mayor and council that are really progressive and like.
If only we could take our three ladies and just
I couldn't help but clap for the.
Oh,
the
I'm
two
like
ladies.
shaking my head the
really
whole
bad because
time.
I should raise your hand. I was like, I'm sorry, I have to make this strategic vote. I'm sorry.
I know.
Did you
She
say
looked so
that
sad.
to her?
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'll see you in 4 years.
Yes, exactly. I wanted to tell her, like, you're a rock star, you inspire, you're my hero, my heart is with you, let's not let it happen. We can't. But they need to. Is there any chance they would? I'm live. We better careful. Yeah. We say just turn a little. We can talk about that a little later, maybe. Because we had an announcement from Elizabeth May for the Green Party nationally. I did tell people watching that there are Americans watching. So they'd be kind of interested that it's different, like, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny talking to them because they don't realize we have such strong
How different it is.
parties. Like
Right.
we have more than two. We have 4 left-leaning ones
Right.
and 2 right-leaning ones.
That's right. We have 6 parties, really.
It's a lot.
I
Yeah.
Yeah,
don't know
so.
how to categorize the block.
It's left.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's way left. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Very
haven't. Yeah, that's good news. So if they get seats, it's okay.
Yeah, they're reasonable people.
And have they ever been like in a minority coalition? The bloc? Have they? Okay, I can't remember.
They hold the balance of power sometimes.
Okay,
It's a minority government.
Okay, yeah, which is great. I mean, I lived in Quebec. I love it.
I like
I don't have
collaboration.
issues.
I like us working together for the good of the nation. I don't like just one side working for themselves. I like it when we work together.
I love
the NDP
coalition.
and the Liberals, like all this great stuff
Oh,
done.
look what they got done.
Dental care, child care, like all this awesome stuff.
Totally. Imagine, you guys, national dental care, national pharmacare. On top of our universal health care.
It's coming, man.
Yeah,
It's coming.
I wonder. I need to get you a job at Interior Health so you can have a. Yeah, exactly. Is everyone meeting back at the office? Do you think? Or
No, I don't think so.
no? It's
I mean, it's not a work thing.
It's been a day. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna end the live, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And Canadian politics, here we go. This is all you're gonna see from me for the next 2 weeks. I'm here. Yes. I'm live on YouTube. Do you want to say hi? This is our rock star organization lady. She keeps the heartbeat going here. So there's a really great team here. We're doing great. So anyways, I'm going to say goodbye, and you will see me just about every day doing something like this. So if you're interested in politics and maybe Canadian politics versus American politics or whatnot, I'll be here. So we'll see you soon. Take care. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.